Welcome to USA Biz Party. I'm Anna Scheller, the host of this wonderful live stream.
I'm Esther Ocampo, the co-host, and we're joined today by
Tom Reed, who is neither a host nor I don't know what I am.
You're our special guest.
We're a special guest. There we go. There we go. Today, we are going to be talking about practical uses of AI in marketing. We're also going to talk about a topic that maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't, but there is such a thing as AI fatigue. And I just learned about it, so I thought it would be a great way for us to culminate this as we take a break for the summer. So if you're watching us, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the little bell so that you get notified when we go live. We're also on LinkedIn and X, so we would love any comments, anything you have to say as we're going through all of this. We are looking forward to getting Dustin Stout on. Dustin is the creator of Magi.co. Magi is a platform that has several different kinds of large language models, which is the fancy word for AIs. And for one subscription price, you get access to all. And I mean, oh my gosh, I think DeepSeek is on there even. I tend to use just ChatGPT 4.0. You can make images. It's a lot of good stuff there. So we're looking forward to having Dustin join us later this year. And if you have a recommendation or you have a topic you think is important for us to discuss, and you would like to be our guest expert, we would love to hear from you. So please drop us a line. You can reach out to us on X or LinkedIn, or even say something in our YouTube. We would appreciate it very much. So again, today is going to be the last live stream until around August 1st. And we're going to just tackle this with some very practical advice on how to integrate AI into your marketing if you're not doing it. And if you are and you feel like AI is taking over your life, hopefully the things we'll be talking about today will help you with that. So the practical use of AI in marketing is super important because, let's be frank, AI is a great tool. But it can also consume what you're doing, and you have to stay in control of of the ways that you're using AI as a tool. Now, I'm not saying that AI is going to become sentient and do your thinking for you, unless you let it think for you. That's a possibility. But there are ways that you can strategically use AI in your marketing to help you become more effective reaching the people that you are called to serve. So before I go on, anyone want to make a comment on that? Crickets. Okay, thank you. Well, pregnant pauses.
I'll just share that, that I was looking at the talking notes, and that's a lot of material. We could spend a lot of time on doing all of this. And so assuming that people that attend this they know how to spell AI, that's a good starting point. But might not know much beyond that. And I know myself, it's every time I touch it, I'm learning something new. To the point I had a conversation with it yesterday. I was asking for assistance in preparing blog posts of 300 words, maximum 300 words. And it sent me back a set of blog posts that were 150 words. I said, it's kind of half of what I asked for. Why do you keep doing this to me? And it came back and it said, we are programmed to provide a current reader blog post, and the best information that we have says they should be no more than 150 words. And I said, but I keep telling you 300. Yes, but our programming says we went round and round on this a few times. So it is trainable, like we often say, as an intern would be. But it does have a mind of its own. You're talking about it thinking. That's why I kind of raised my eyebrows, because this was an interesting conversation to have with a machine.
Oh my, oh my. Well, and it is interesting because I've learned to be very specific with the AI when I'm working with an AI. So, for example, preparing for this, I asked the AI for 3 talking points on the practical use of AI in marketing, and then I turned around and I told it how to create a description for our channel and to only limit it to 75 words. And then I'll go back and I'll say, but I like this and I don't like that. I mean, it's like it's having a conversation. It's having a conversation, even if it is with a machine that's programmed only to give you 150 words for your blog post. Well, let's dive into one of the first practical uses of AI, and that is that AI can provide personalized customer experiences for people, particularly if you're able to give it the analytics of the kinds of people who are visiting your website, people who are interacting with your blog posts and your social media, people who are in e-commerce. It can take that data, take a look at what they've been purchasing and help you to personalize the experience. Now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're already experiencing this. We've already been experiencing this. So this tells me that AI has been around a while. So think about Amazon. When you make a purchase on Amazon, what does Amazon do? It makes recommendations for
Yeah.
additional purchases based on your purchase history and the purchase history of other people who have purchased like products. Now, the sad thing is I sometimes buy those extra products.
Now, it's interesting though, because up until recently, up until, the last couple of years that AI really took off, it was rumored that that was just aleatory. There was no real science behind it. There was no real, people also bought was just extra stock that they had of something, and it wasn't actually related to what people were actually buying, but it was more of a, we need to get rid of this. What's a good way to do that is to use that psychology of, well, if you're buying this and other people bought this along with it, then you should be doing that too. And it wasn't so much AI based as it was more psychology of, we really need rid of this stuff. So we're going to make them think that they're going to need it, because if somebody else bought it, then, they must go together and you must buy these two things together. Obviously, there's some that make sense. If you're buying a printer and you should get the ink cartridges, that makes sense. But if you're buying a printer and it also tells you that they bought kitchen knives, that makes no sense. But you're still very likely to buy it because they're telling you that other people made those combos of products together. So not everything that we see in terms of people also bought, or we think you would also like this other thing, is actually based on proper scientific research or analysis, or even AI analyzing things in the background, like your wish list and things like that. It's very highly based on the extra stock that they have in the warehouses as well.
That I didn't know. That's very, very interesting. So I'll have to take a look the next time I'm on Amazon and see what they're trying to hoist onto me. That's um, now I think you have to have the right kind of data to feed the AI in order to get that kind of in order to get the data to create a more personalized experience for your customers. So again, that is something that's humanly driven. That's not that's not something that you can go to my website and tell me this. But I mean, sometimes the AIs do have some limitations in terms of I've I've gone to an AI and I've asked for a list of companies that need corporate housing in this particular industry, and they came back and it was very generic, was not specific at all. Of course, I'm getting better at my prompts, so maybe I could get better information. But you do have to realize that if you have data, you need to you need to give the data to the AI, or give the AI the, I don't know, would you give them the access, Esther? Because I think you know more about this. So, for example, if I wanted to know um, the kind of blog posts I would create for based on the traffic to my website, how maybe explain a little bit about how that can be beneficial to, or how somebody could go about doing that.
Yeah, well, there's two ways that can be done. You can, first of all, you can just share your link and say, based on this website, and they can, they get a general idea. The AI gets a general idea because of similar websites and things like that. But yes, there's, to my knowledge, at the time of recording, you cannot add the AI to your Google Analytics or any other analytics that you have. So it's more based on you providing downloads from those analytics sites and providing it with extra information that based off your previous analytics. But I'm sure it's coming. I'm sure Google and Bing and DuckDuckGo and all of these, search engines and big analytics companies are going to be in talks with the AI machines or building their own to be able to integrate into it, so that you're using theirs instead of others, so that you get a more well-rounded experience with your analytics. Because what people are finding more and more is that they are actually looking at their analytics. I think previously people just sort of went, well, people are arriving at my website because they're buying things, or because they're filling in the contact form, or because, they clicked to download my freebie. But how do they get there? Who are they? They never really dug deeper into it until they go to the AI and they say, even if you say in the AI for marketing, give me 30 blog posts or 30 content ideas, the first thing the AI should do is say, who's your audience? And if you don't know your audience based on your analytics, and to be fair, in some countries, it's not great because of things like GDPR and things like, cookies and protections and regulations around data sharing. You guys in America have a lot more information points than we do here. We don't have anything to do with income levels or things like that when we're looking at our analytics, whereas you guys over there, at least you used to before some of the data protection rules came in. And those are the sort of things that you need, and you need to be able to see. Oh, you don't need to, but it helped a lot with marketing when you were able to see if they were parents or, married, divorced, single, in what wage bracket, or in what income level they had, or all these different things were real factors in when it came to analyzing your audience, because then you could promote higher price points and more in-depth or more expensive products to that end of the market, and save your other things for another part of the market. And without all that information, then you're more guessing in the dark. So AI can come along and help by taking your website and seeing in your website and go, right, so this appeals to X, Y, and Z. And then based off that, it can give you the information, and it bases itself off norms and regulations, like Tom was saying, 150 words rather than 300 words. There are other places out there that say 2,000 words for a blog post, because you need the length for the AI to read it and everything like that. So keep arguing with your AI, Tom. But at the end of the day, when you have the AI, like I said, I don't think it can be like connected properly to it, but if you feed it enough information, and it will give you a better understanding of your customers and their data and their experiences and where they go and where they click and, you know, what order they view your website in, because nobody views it in a linear form. It will help. At the end of the day, it's all going to, the more information you have about your audience and about who's viewing your things, the better you can tailor your content to the people watching it, rather than what you want to see or what you think people want to see.
Well, I can agree with part of what you're saying there. But again, from my own experience, I've had this discussion. Let me say it differently. I always give it my audience. I always give it a word count. I mean, just part of you learn to construct your queries in exactly that way. And there have been any number of times when it's given me half of a blog post and I say, this isn't meeting the word count. Please try again. And I've actually, and I like to use this phrase, although it's a bit metaphorical, but I've literally choked it to death over these things, because I pointed out and says, oh, yes, you're right. It's not the length you requested. Let me try again. And it increases it by 20 words. I'm going, no, 150 to 170 is still not 300. You know, we've had those kind of discussions repeatedly. And it was only yesterday when I finally confronted it as I would a person, rather than refining my instructions to an intern. It was like, look, what's going on with you? Why are you doing this? And it responded to me, which I guess I was kind of surprised, but I'd never asked it to talk about itself before. And it did. It said, yeah, this is part of my programming. And I said, okay, how do we overwrite that? Well, it said, I'm now putting it in so that when you request this and you say 300 words, you mean 300 words. I said, well, you know, in my head, I'm going, well, I wouldn't have said it if I didn't mean it the first time, but okay, machine, you know, if that's how you work, I'll work with you. And so there are these still quirks. And I should add this. I've been with it for a little while now, so I forget, it was 3 point something when I started with it, and we're now up to 4.0 or whatever we are. And I've noticed that sometimes when you've got it doing what you want it to do and a new version comes out, it reverts. And so you need to keep track yourself of the special instructions, if I call it that, in order to keep it tuned to what you want to do. Otherwise, you're going to waste a whole lot of time, and AI is supposed to save us time, rehashing those same discussions, those same arguments, etc. I will like it better when it remembers me better than it does.
There we go. Now I'm back. I wasn't aware of that. One of the things that, as you were talking, one of the things that maybe other people would want to think about is to track their prompts. So in the Magi, which is the platform that I use to access a number of different LLMs, I actually I can get a prompt library started to know exactly what I said that did exactly what I wanted, what I didn't want. So that can be something. And because you are Tom, I'm assuming you're already doing that anyway. However, other people may just need that little nudge. Now, the second way that we can use AI in marketing, and again, I'm going to defer to Esther because this is not something I'm very fluent about, and that is the automation of routine tasks. And the reason I don't feel fluent about it is because I don't use my AI to schedule anything. I use the AI simply as an assistant to help me compose or to do research. That's primarily what I use the AI for, or to brainstorm. I don't use it to schedule anything. So maybe Esther, you could talk to us about how AI helps us with that. I'm assuming it has to be integrated in the scheduling software that you're using, like Hoot It was Hoot, right? I can't remember anymore. It's been so long.
There's Hootsuite, Buffer, Agora Pulse,
Hootsuite.
Feed Alpha. There's loads and loads and loads. There's Smarter Q. There's so many. But when it comes to using AI to schedule, then it also includes like when Meta says, oh, these are the best times to post, and these are when your audience are online. It's again gathering that information and the analytics from that the machine has, or that the platform has. I personally use one that's called Missing Letter, and that's where I put my blog posts in. That's where my podcast goes into it, and it gives me 12, depending on how many, but usually up enough for 12 months. So say one a week for the first 3 weeks, and then one of every 2 weeks after that, and then it keeps ticking over, and then at the end it's maybe 2 or 3 months between one and another. I mean, I've got 280 episodes of podcasts, so you don't need to have all of them going out every day. It would saturate it. But that's just with one click of the button, and go and here's the RSS feed, give me my 12 posts or my 15 posts, and send them to this platform, this platform, and this platform, with the times that the platform deems best, or when most people are online, or trial and error and figure it out as we go along. Those things can be set up relatively easily. But like Tom was saying, when you're training your AI, it does take time, and it's the same with using it to promote your social media content. It will take time to either train it to gather the information. You can also have it searching for information, like I said, on an RSS feed when you update your website, to send out a notification or a post on your social media. Or you can have it searching through your competitors or industry news and things like that. And when there's, if these words are mentioned, give me a blog post, or give me a piece of news, and then I can share it. It's like the Google alerts that you can set up, and you receive an email to say, okay, so these, so in Anna's case, Capri temporary housing was mentioned in this, and this, or in my case, social media news updates here, and here. Tom could set it up for leadership, pros and cons, good things, bad things, people doing it right, people doing it wrong, and then you can choose to share it out. But I wouldn't just leave the AI to its own devices to be sharing things, because you never know what it's going to pick up. So my company is called IPA Group, and an IPA is a beer. So it may pick up things to do with Indian Pale Ale, or it may pick up things to do with, other types of beer. And as a company, we don't want that or need that to, be going out onto our social media platforms. What you can do is have it set up that you authorize everything. But again, it would just be pulling in the information, and then you just going, yes, approve, disapprove, and it helps cut down that amount of energy that you need to think about a post, or to be able to go into even going into your own blog list, going, right, which one did I share out today? And which one did I share 3 days ago? And I don't remember when the last time was that I shared, the blog about whatever. So there are tools that you can add in that connect directly to your website, directly to your social media platforms through a third party, like I said, Agora Pulse, or Feed Alpha, or any of these, Hootsuite, Buffer, etc., that can do the hard work for you, and see what's going on, and see what people are talking about, and see what your audience wants to see as well, and what special days are coming up and things like that, or what the trending hashtag is, or anything that it deems worthy of sharing. But again, always go in and check. But other things that can be used for automation of routine tasks, like your email list. And we've talked about this before. Anna has an email list set up, and you get a sales tip a day for 31 days. and it's already set up. It took a while to set it up, but it's working, and it can be modified and changed as you go along. Chatbots on your website, on your social media platforms. Now, I did have an issue with a chatbot, well, 2 chatbots actually today. I was trying to contact a company, and I was apparently connected to John, and John never replied, never answered, and then all of a sudden the chatbot got disconnected. And then on an Instagram post where a friend was celebrating her silver wedding anniversary, 25 years, I congratulated her and got a "here's a link to my course" reply. I don't know. I'm not here for that. I'm here to congratulate you on making it to 25 years with the same person. So there are pros and cons to having things automated and just routinely going out. They should be checked. They should have if this, then that. If somebody's saying congratulations, don't try to sell them something. If somebody is trying to connect to your company to ask you a question, don't ghost them. But on the whole, they do make life an awful lot easier once you have them set up properly. Oh.
That's what happens when you have 2 people in control of the controls. Tom, how about you? Have you used AI to automate routine tasks? You are muted, sir. There we go.
Simple answer is no. But I have a bit of a unique view of those things that candidly is still evolving. You're all familiar with my vision, mission, goals, tasks format. I've shared it here and elsewhere, and it's in the book. And so the question becomes, how do you achieve your goals? And my system was to have the task, the actions I have to take in order to achieve the goals. And I do this with lists. I don't use AI for any of that. Now, and I continued listening to Scott Adams' podcast, who is the creator of Dilbert, but on the other hand, he knows a lot about business and people, and he's a trained hypnotist, so he knows a lot about persuasion. And he actually writes in some of his books, "Goals are for losers," which is always a fascinating phrase when I see he wrote that, because he's a big advocate for systems. And like you two were both saying, the automation available to create these kind of systems is there. But as I know Anna knows this, or I don't know if you know this, I've gotten a bit of a reputation in the chats and such where Anna and I have engaged for being someone who is not an early adopter. And my reason is that I don't take to a lot of these things quickly or easily. I find that whatever programmers think is intuitive is an absolutely different definition than I consider intuitive. And so it's often difficult for me to adapt and get to know it and know how to use it. And so I have this incredibly steep learning curve to figure out how to use it. And I have repeated examples of where I have learned to use it well and it disappears. Anybody remember Blab? I love that platform. And one day it just wasn't there. Skype, I can't say I've used it a lot, but what happened a couple of weeks ago? It disappeared. And it's so often I've learned all this, taken great time and pains to learn it, and it disappears. My frustration level for such things is very low. So I won't put up with this. And so while I can acknowledge academically that those kinds of systems can work and work beautifully for some people, I'm just not an early adapter of them. So since I don't use those kinds of systems, I don't even have an effective CRM system right now, apart from hiring Constant Contact to maintain my email list. I farm that stuff out. I let somebody else worry about it. Apart from that, I don't really have that sort of integration across systems. And I'm going to make a confession here about something else. I built my business initially through word of mouth. I would speak at professional conferences. I would meet people. They'd hire me. I made a living. And then COVID came along. And then I realized that my entire market had shifted, particularly to a much younger generation. And after publishing 24 articles in our professional magazine, at the last conference we had last July in Seattle, what suddenly dawned on me, and should have been apparent to anybody with half a brain to begin with, of the 900 and some odd people who were there, I think the 10 that I knew sat at the same dinner table every night. And the point was, your marketing is based on your outreach and being known to people and doing those kinds of things. And none of that was known to this entire 2 generations of people that have come along since. And so when you don't have the right, how do I say this properly? When you don't have the right audience loaded into your CRM, but you have to go out and build that to a newer generation, you can't really set it up as a system because there's nobody to affect by the use of a system. I get emails from some people that come every day. There are certain marketing people and others that every day they put out an email. And I think that's a bit irritating. And unless it's really good stuff, I don't stay subscribed. On the other hand, I've been building my email list and my newsletters to the point that I now have 3. I have the Secret Leader on Monday. I have the contracting, which was mostly about terminations these days, on Thursdays. And I have a monthly newsletter that goes out to the people that are enrolled on the learning platform. And so here I'm moving in that direction so that I have these discrete elements of my audience. But to put that into a system and use AI to inform and teach that, it's like, how can I ask an intern to go do that when in truth, I don't know what I'm doing yet? I'm still learning it myself. And so that's the true confession part of trying to figure out, once you've built a business and it worked well until it got dismantled, how do you rebuild it? And it doesn't happen overnight. I can assure you of that. So no, I'm not using it for any of those purposes. Like I said, I've used it mostly for, I'm going to say thought joggers in terms of how to put different material into a blog post or how to construct a class. I was asked recently about issues relative to compliance in government contracting. And I'm like, oh my God, government contracts are nothing but compliance. How do you distill that into one course? And I've spent a lot of time with AI massaging that into something that's actually functional, something that's actually workable. But it's only because I know government contracting and I can point out where it's wrong, and it's wrong often. It cites old regulations. It makes up regulations that don't exist. It really does this to me. And so I have to be very careful with it, and I don't trust it. I mean, that's the punchline. I don't trust it. So why would I take that and incorporate it into a system that's going to be a primary contact with my client base if I don't know what's going out and I can't trust it? And it's like, well, forget it. That's too much effort. I'll do it myself. So I'm maybe not the best example of what you were saying there, Anna, but that's my honest answer.
Well, honesty is what works, because I'm sure you're not the only person who is watching or will be watching this live stream that's in that same situation. Because, even though, there's still people who are concerned about AI and afraid of AI. And then there are people who are just all over AI. And then there's the rest of us that are still learning how to integrate AI into what we're doing and to make it the tool that we need it to be. One more bullet point, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, because a lot of what we've been talking about leads into the final subject, which is AI fatigue. But we can get, with the right AI analytics, we can get insights into our customers, and then we can start to build a better message, a better strategy to reach those customers, whether it's through social media, blog posts, videos, however it is that you reach out to your peeps, if you will. Maybe it's a group that you have on Facebook. Maybe it's a community that you regularly interact with on X, or now Blue Sky or Threads, or in LinkedIn. Those are ways that you can use AI practically in your marketing strategy. But one of the things that's been popping up quite a bit is this whole idea of we need to still be the driver, if you will, of the strategy. We still need to be that, because there's actually something out there which I didn't know about. I was doing some research yesterday trying to come up with a good topic for us today, and it's something called AI fatigue. And AI fatigue comes from frustration or this being tired of constantly interacting with the AI. And that actually comes from too much dependence on AI tools. And so as we're delving into this, again, it really points to the whole idea that AI is not to run our businesses, but AI is something that we need to direct. We need to be in control. So if the way that Tom's using AI right now works for him, then that works for him. He doesn't have to, automate everything in order to use AI effectively for his business. And so one of the things that is really important, of course, is the human integration piece. So you're still the creative genius. You're also the one with the knowledge. And I'm going to pick on Tom for a minute, because Tom is the one with the knowledge. So he can spot if it's an old regulation. He can spot if it's a made up scenario for the AI trying to answer the prompt. So we know those things are out there. And, it's, again, it comes back to, you still are in control of this tool that you're using. And if you find yourself getting frustrated, or you find yourself being tired of it, then maybe step back, look at how you're interacting with the AI. So one of the things too is you want to set clear objectives for the use of your AI. So what does success look like for you, and how is the AI going to help you determine or achieve that success? And then you're just very specific. And I know that means you have to think, which sometimes as entrepreneurs, we'd rather have somebody else do the work for us. That's just a fact. We'd rather have somebody else work for us. But the truth of the matter is that if we're sitting quiet, strategizing, studying, researching, listening to podcasts or books, and learning how to more effectively use these tools, we're actually doing a lot of work for our company. I actually make sure I have time every day where I'm quiet and I'm not writing an email, and I'm not in a meeting, or I'm not writing tasks for my team. I actually sit and just really kind of soak in, and maybe listen to a book or take a walk, something to help me build that creative piece that is me. So I'm not abdicating to somebody or something else to help me with my business. So I'd really love to hear your take, Esther and Tom, on this particular topic of, how do I think we've really talked about it, but staying in control of our use of AI, so that AI is not running our company, but we're utilizing it as an effective tool to accomplish our goals.
When my picture pops up, I assume I'm supposed to talk. AI fatigue was not a term that I was particularly familiar with. I'd kind of heard it off and on. And as I thought about it, I thought, well, there's a lot of different ways to address this. And I've been doing some deeper research in some leadership aspects where we talk about the sociological and the technical and the pragmatic and the theological and, different approaches to philosophies, a way to look at things. And I think people get tired of AI in different ways for different reasons. For example, you can ask it a simple question, what is X? And you'll get 3 pages of, well, X is this, and it's this other thing, and it's used over here. And it's like, wait, too much information. It's more than I need. Now, part of that's because you don't craft good queries, but it doesn't change the fact that your experience can be information overload. And I think some people, too, have been overhyped. Oh, it's a wonderful thing. It's great things in sliced bread. Yeah, it'll do everything for you. It'll clean up everything and solve all your problems and cure your depression and all of your eating habits. And it's like, really? No, it won't. Don't do any of that. But it's hyped that way. And people are like, yeah, more sales pitch. And they just dismiss it, even the parts that could help them or be true. I think, too, that some companies are guilty of this, where they are insisting that knowledge workers in particular incorporate AI without any good training or knowledge or without even good AI systems sometimes. And they're like, look, I had a system that worked. I had a daily article I had to publish, and I have a system, and I create these articles, and I write them, and I edit them, and I post them, and I'm done. Oh, now I have to bring AI into it, and it becomes a disruption, not a benefit. Now, there's a learning curve with that as well, and I mentioned my issues with that. I think, too, that the ethical issues we talk about that every week, of making stuff up, hallucinating, whatever the case might be, to the point that if you can't trust it for everything, can you trust it for anything? And particularly if you're exploring an area that you don't know that well, you're trying to learn, you could be learning wrong stuff. And I think this is an ethical, if not existential, sort of concern that you could have there. And then lastly, and coming from an introvert, I had to think about this for a while, but it's worth mentioning. There are aspects of AI where I don't have to talk to people, and I like that. I'm good with that. But at the same time, even introverts are not completely immune from human connection. We still have our friends, people we talk to, usually one-on-one, not so much in groups, unless we're teaching a class or speaking in an auditorium or something like that. But there is this loss of human connection where so often I go read other people's blogs, and you can tell it's all AI generated. And you're like, where is your human thought on this? I don't want this mechanical thing talking to me. I want to hear what you think and how you approach this. And so I think that there's just a list of 5 things that can really contribute to the fatigue. And they all have different causes. They all have different solutions, I believe. But I think they are all real. I think they exist.
I agree that a lot of times we can lose the human touch, and it's very noticeable on the way that the AI is written. Or, I mean, there's a whole controversy over the M dash in that AI loves to use, and I think we've spoken about this in previous weeks. But a lot of people, like, I've seen so many posts recently on LinkedIn, where I hang out the most, where they're complaining about the use of AI, but it's obvious that they used AI to write the post because it's very well structured. I mean, I write from what I'm feeling on AI. It's or not on AI, sorry, on LinkedIn. I just go in and type in the spare of the moment, and there's not very much there's a strategy behind it, but there's not like planning and everything behind it. It's a lot of times it's off the cuff, or I'm at an event and I'm speaking about it or sharing online about it. But spending the time going through AI and adding the app to your phone, or adding another element of having to go in and review it and everything, and making sure that you remove the M dash to add in a hyphen, or whatever your grammatical brain wants you to add, that is also very draining, and it takes away that human element of spontaneity, and it takes away the, well, I'm here at an event, so I just want to talk about what's happening and who's speaking and what I enjoyed, and the AI won't be able to get all that across. It doesn't even get names right most of the time. But like Tom said, it has taken away that part of the human, or the personal touch that we can recognize in other things. So if I'm writing away on LinkedIn the way I would write or the way I would speak, and then all of a sudden my blogs are very formal or very, filled with all this data, that how do we know that it's correct data if we don't go and investigate and do all the research ourselves? Then it can just be like night and day between one thing and the other. I am very pro AI and using it to help you with things. I don't think you need to be an expert in everything before you release the AI, or before you start, using it. I don't know anything about plumbing my house, and I wouldn't want to go and learn how to plumb my house before hiring a plumber. So that's the way I feel about AI, is that it's adding in something, or a team member in inverted commas, that you need, but you don't have the skills in order to be able to fulfill that role. And that's the role that's being filled by AI. But again, you need to be the overseer, and you need, just like any other new employee that comes in, you need to be on top of them and making sure that there's no errors in what is being said. You don't have to be the expert in it, but sometimes you can just look at something and go, well, that doesn't look right. And I think that's where a lot of the AI fatigue is coming through with people, that I notice online, is they're saying, is this real, or is this being generated by AI? Is that, the people consuming the information are having real fatigue by going, is that a real image? Or was that generated by AI? Is this a real offer, or was it generated by AI? Is this really how this person speaks, or is that a video done by AI? And I mean, AI would have a nightmare doing a video about me, because my hands move all the time. And their AI generated videos are very much, you keep still and barely move your mouth. So there's lots of things that people consuming, your customers, like we were talking about earlier, having it customer personalized for your customers' experiences. They don't want to see the polished AI version. They like seeing the rough around the edges, behind the scenes information. They love seeing the bloopers. They love seeing things that, maybe don't think are important. They really enjoy seeing that. They enjoy feeling that connection and going, oh, he understands me. She understands me. That company understands me, because they're speaking my language. They're saying things how I would say it. They're using words that I would use. They're, making a fool of themselves on a video, waving their hands about, and I do that too. All of these different things. If I were to generate a podcast or a video or audio using AI, it would never have my accent. It would have a generic English speaking accent. You can have generic American accents, but it wouldn't have the intonations and the fluctuation that you personally would have when speaking. So you can make all the videos you want and all the, podcasts you want, but when people meet you in real life, they'll go, is that really you? Because you don't sound like you. You don't look like you, like you're missing a few wrinkles in online, or you're, missing a few gray hairs if you've touched it up, or, we like having the ability to make these touch-ups, but I think some people take it a step too far and remove the credibility aspect. What do you think, Anna? Oh, sorry, Tom.
Oh, I was just going to comment about what you're saying about is it real? Remember the old ad, is it real or is it Memorex? Older people might remember that old ad. I saw something today online, and it had to do with George Floyd, which is a very hot topic, and people have very strong emotions about it. And there was a large mural up in Minneapolis, and I think it was Minneapolis, on a wall. And last night they had thunderstorms blow through, and lightning struck the wall, destroyed the mural. Well, that's what the picture showed, and that's what the X post said. And as soon as I saw it, I hit reply, and I started typing, "Is this real?" And I'm thinking, what an amazingly stupid thing to have to ask. but it was, that was the thing. It was like, somebody could have made that up through AI to make a political point, or it could have really happened. And it's like, how do we know? And that was the whole point that you're making. We don't know.
Precisely. Well, actually, let's go to the 3 because I actually have to jump off here very quickly. I'm here. I'm supposed to be taking care of my granddaughter, and I have a helper, and she has made it clear. You guys can't hear her, but I can. That she needs her nap soon. I think the thing it boils down to is it's the thing. It boils down to what we've all been talking about from the get-go when it comes to AI. AI is a helper. AI is not our voice. AI is not who we are. And we still have to be actively engaged. With that, I'm going to let Esther close us out since I now have a very urgent situation to take care of. But it's been wonderful to be with you here. Again, just a very quick reminder, we are taking a break for June and July. We'll be back in August. We'll give people plenty of notification when we're going to do that. It's great to have you with us, Tom, as always, and Esther and I will be behind the scenes creating more great content to get us started in the fall or in August. So take care, have a wonderful summer, and we'll see you in August.
Bye.
Sounds good. Bye now.